Okay, we're getting the Mastercraft X2 ready for the summer. We're changing out the impeller. This is just the process that I use to change out the impeller. So just a couple things we're going to need. We're going to use some WD-40. That's going to lubricate it to get it out. Flathead screwdriver to take off the cover, bolts, needle nose pliers, and then a new impeller kit. We're using a Johnson original impeller. It's the 09-812B1. This actually is for a lot of Indmar motors. Volvo, Penta use this same impeller, so this is kind of a universal part for a lot of boats, a lot of motors. So this is how it's done on a Mastercraft. This is a V-drive where the pump is against the transom. We're going to go through and show you how we change out the impeller. This is a pretty simple process. Should be done at least once a year, every 100 hours, just to make sure you have a fresh impeller. You don't want this thing. Now the impeller, if you're not familiar with what an impeller is or what it does, it's just a part that looks like this, and it has these veins on it that are rubber. And when it sits inside the housing, some of them are bent over like this, and over time they just wear out. They get brittle, they break. If it breaks inside or falls apart inside of the housing, these pieces will get caught inside of your cooling system. You're going to overheat and it's going to cause problems. So these things are cheap enough, it's easy enough to do that you can just do it on a regular basis, at least once a year, or 100 hours, I'd say. And that way, you know, you have a fresh one in there. You don't have to worry about cooling problems or the impeller failing. Okay, let's show you where the impeller is. So this is the back of the boat. Here's the motor. This is a V-drive, so the pulley and the impeller housing's on the back side of the motor here. So I'll show you kind of where that's at. The hardest part of this is just getting access to that. I've removed the side panels here. You can see no side panel here. Side panel here's been removed. I just did an oil change on it, so those have been off. This is a good time to do it. But I'm going to show you where the impeller housing is. So just over the front here, you can see there's a black part right there with a little white seal. That's the impeller housing there. So there's just a few bolts on the front of that cover. We're just going to unscrew those. So what that... Get a better shot here. Okay, so what we're going to do is, you can get to it from the top. I'm just kind of almost laying on the block. There's a bolt here, one here, one here, one at the bottom. So there's 4 of these little guys. They're little brass bolts. They're hexed heads. They also have a groove in them for flathead screwdriver, so that's kind of the easiest. They're not really on that tight. You're just kind of hand tight on there. So the first step is we're going to take off those nuts with the flathead screwdriver. Okay, we're just working on getting these little nuts out, these little bolts. I also found that you can get a 5/16. That's the size of the socket that these are, because they are hex head. Some of the, if it's too hard to get a flathead on there, this little ratchet on there would be maybe a little easier. You see that just... That ratchet's on there a little easier. Okay, there's just 4 of them here. They shouldn't be on there that tight. You can kind of see the cover from right there. Okay. Got one out. Here's the third one. So I'm just accessing this from the top of the engine compartment. Sometimes this is easier than the side. Depends on how much clearance you have. Back here, this one has a decent amount. Now once you take that bolt out, this cover, okay, falls right off. And then here's your impeller inside this housing. There's this little foam gasket that we're going to replace. This is kind of the wide side. So yours could be set differently, but this is how this one is. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get this gasket off, and then we're going to work on extracting the impeller out of that housing. Alright, here we are looking again from the top. So here's the impeller housing, and then here's the impeller inside here. So one thing I'm going to do right now, I have the cover off, I took the gasket off. I'm gonna turn the motor over. I'm not going to start it. I'm going to pull the safety lanyard, turn the motor over, and it's going to spin this. And sometimes that's enough to just loosen enough so I can pull it out with the needle nose. I may have to add WD-40 in there to get it out, but I'm going to try it without that first, so we're going to get to that. Okay, here we are at the helm. What we're going to do is we're going to pull the safety lanyard. This is, most boats have this. If this is pulled, the boat won't start, but it'll turn over. So that's a way that you can turn the motor over without having it start. Set that aside so the motor is kind of disengaged. Got our battery on. All right, so I'm just basically just gonna bump the motor. Just I'm gonna get one little more bump. Okay, so now we're gonna go back and pull on the impeller. Okay, I'm gonna throw a pad here. This is just a pad, so I'm gonna kind of lay on this just to kind of get some leverage to reach into the pump housing to pull on the impeller. Okay, I'm reaching in from the top. If you can see here, see how there's the vanes of the impeller? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get the needle nose, I'm going to pry. So I'm just going to kind of work around the edges and see if I can get it out. So I bumped it over with the cover off. And we're going to see if that's enough. Okay, I sprayed a little WD-40 in and I bumped the motor again. So now I'm just, I almost have it almost the way out. This is just pulling on it for just a minute or two with the pliers. But you just keep kind of working your way around on it. An impeller puller would be a lot easier on this. You can buy an impeller puller, kind of the clamps down on it. But I found this method is just as easy. So you want to kind of work your way around it. I've about got it out, so I'm just pulling it out. Okay, just pulled it out. So that's the old impeller right there. Now all we got to do is put the new one in. Alright, we got the old one out. This is the new one. We're going to get the new one swapped in there. The new one comes with the packet of, this is an impeller lubricant, glycerin. So what we're going to do is we're going to lube this up, and then we're going to make sure that the vanes are bent in the same direction that this one was. So it'll go in pretty easily. We just got to lubricate it nice and good, and then we'll get it in. Once we get it in, then we'll put the cover, the new gasket on, and then the cover back on. So okay, we got the new one. The new one's been greased up with the glycerin provided. We're making sure that the vanes are facing the same way. I took a picture and they're facing counterclockwise, so I made sure that these vanes are facing the same way. And now I'm just basically just going to push it in. So it's a splined shaft. You just need to line it up. There we go. Okay. See how the vanes are facing counterclockwise just like they were on the previous ones, so you just want to make sure that's the case. And now I'm just going to get the gasket on the outside. Put the cover on. Here's the old foam gasket, and then here's the new one. So we're just going to orient them the same. So this was the far left side bolt. So I'm just basically going to drop it down, and it's going to go against like this. So this is the top one. This is the left side, this is the bottom, this is the right side of it, like this. So I'm going to get that down there, but at the same time, we need to also, if you see on the back side of the cover, it's kind of this same shape here. See, it's a circle on this side, and then it's a weirder shape on this side. So we just want to match up the cover. So here's this shape over here, so we know this is that far left side nut. So what we're going to do is just, I'm going to line that up. And then I'm going to put the top bolt. Let's see, we're going to get, okay, here's a shot from the back side. So you can see how the gasket lines up with the pattern on the cover. So I've got this top screw in, so this is the top. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slowly lower this down and get that started, and then I'll slowly put the rest in, just kind of hand tight. Okay, here we are lowering this down. I'm just getting this top screw in. Okay, I have this top screw in now. I'm just going to line up the cover and the gasket, and then just slowly, carefully screw in each one. And then I'll just very lightly tighten it down. It doesn't have to be extremely tight, it just needs to be snug. Okay, as you can see, I got all the screws back in. They're all just hand tight. I'm going to go now just a star pattern. I'm just going to do kind of a star pattern. You know, this side to this side, the bottom to top. I'm just going to go around and just slowly tighten those. This foam gasket will just get compressed, and then it'll form a pretty watertight seal. So I'm going to get that done. Okay, all the screws are now snugged up. You can see the gasket's been compressed. That's all we need to do. It is easier to get to this from the top than it is trying to go in from the side. So you don't really need to really remove the side panels from what I'm experiencing. So we're all set to go. I just need to put the safety lanyard back in. We're ready to go boating. Okay, last thing here we're going to do is just put in the safety lanyard. It just clips there and holds that button down. Okay, we're all good to go now. That was a fairly, that probably took about 30 minutes, and nice peace of mind knowing we got a fresh impeller, the cooling system's going to operate properly. So hopefully that was helpful for you. Thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe and like the video. I'd appreciate it. Thank you.